So why am I doing this? I'm starting this podcast because we all have a story and finances play a part in our struggles and successes. If we can learn from the many mistakes many others have made, we can make sure that more of us are successful. Like the quote says, to increase the chances of success, we must increase our failure rate. To be honest, I failed a ton. I will bring people from all walks of life, but mostly service members. If you have a story you would like to share, do not hesitate to reach out. From the go, like and subscribe to this podcast so many others can benefit. Today we have Bob. You guys may know him as Information Dominance on the social medias. This guy runs a mostly informational intel page and supports a lot of us. We're going to hear his story. You guys probably never heard him, never going to hear his voice, never heard his voice, and I can assure you this is not what he sounds like. So what's up, Bob? How you doing?
Hey, salutations. What's up, team? What's up, audience? We'll say family for right now. What's up, family?
Yeah, the fam is listening and the fam cares. Yeah, man. We were just talking. We're talking a lot together, and we always bullshit, and there's always a lot of good stuff to say. And I know that you're a service member, and I think I want to, this is an opportunity for a faceless page to connect and, to see, kind of humanize you as much as you're willing to. So what can you tell us about your time on this planet? Where does or at least your career in the military at this point?
Yeah. So, I think like a lot of us, man, I grew up playing G.I. Joe. Came from a broken home, defining that as, however, mom was an addict, dad wasn't around. So, you have to entertain yourself, right? Maybe your own friends, whatever. And so I did a lot of that. And then did foster care for a little bit. And then dad came around, moved in with him, moved into a major city, and joined the military when I was 17. That was my 17th birthday present, was to enlist in the armed services. Let's go.
Nice. And are you open to share what was your MOS? Were you what was your line of work while you were in the military?
Yeah, let's talk about it, dude. So I started off doing C4 ISR stuff. So friendly forces, blue force, like tracking and radar operating, radar repair. But the whole time, man, like ever since I was about 9, I was into modifying radios and hacking.
Wow.
So my bunk would be full of like books on cryptography and books on electronics, and it was bad. Like my mattress was just full of books, like underneath. Funny story. First tour, my rack got broken into when I was on leave, and everyone thought I was CID, NCIS. They were 100% sure. Like I had night vision in there. I had all kinds of just random shit because I lived abroad, and I just did my own shit, man. So I got big into radios, and I wanted to learn how to intercept stuff. And then one protocol became a challenge, and I wanted to decode pagers, and I wanted to decode AIS, and then I wanted to decode voice. So, I just figured it out. But then finally, after, maybe 8 years, I was living in Hawaii, and I met a dude that was stationed on one of the EP3s that went down in Hainan Island back in the day. So he's one of the operators on there, one of the Chinese linguists, or Chai-lings. And he walked into my garage, and he was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? And I had a rack of radios that I had modified so I could intercept stuff. And I had antennas on the palm tree outside. And he was like, what? Like, dude, like, who are you, man? And I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? Why are you in my garage? Like, and then we started talking about jobs. And he's like, you do what? He's like, there's a job for what you're doing right now in our service. And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, what is that? So he described it to me, and he's like, everything you're doing right now could possibly be illegal. So probably cut it off. I didn't cut it off. I just amplified it, right? So, and then I cross-rated and got into Intel stuffs. And then I've done every kind of int. SIGINT, HUMINT, IMIT, cyber shit up the wazoo.
Wow.
Cyber defense, offensive cyber weapons development.
Wow.
Deployed a whole bunch of times. Kind of just looked for things that I thought were interesting and experiences I couldn't get anywhere else. Like, people look at the service like this terrible thing, but to me, man, it was a buffet of memories. Like, I wanted to go to Africa, so I went to Africa. I wanted to go to a different place in Africa, so I found a billet, went there. I wanted to go to Iraq, found a billet, went there. Wanted to go to Afghanistan, went there. Wanted to do CT stuff in Asia, found places I could do CT stuff in Asia. The whole time just racking up experiences, man. Yeah. So, I don't know, that I did 22 years, retired not too long ago, and then rolled into a pretty sweet job that I never could have gotten if I didn't do those experiences. And the thing is, like, once you become a senior NCO or a senior in any capacity in these branches, you get removed from the technical stuff, and you're getting paid for the technical stuff in the outside world, right? So, like, they don't care about evals. They don't care about fit reps. Like, there's PMs to do that. There's program managers that are going to take care of that. There's leadership pipelines that will take care of that. They want senior technical people who are going to develop capabilities and things that will be profitable, right? Because that those things translate into monies to these these companies.
Right. So sounds like you have a wide array of knowledge, and you've been around, done a ton, and clearly your career has helped you a lot. I was going to ask you what I ask most people, like, about what did you hear about finance from your childhood? But it sounds like your parents were pretty, they were not around, and probably not a great financial influence. But in the service, since you've gotten a lot, and you took the buffet of experiences, has your time in the service helped you to be more financially sound, more financially aware?
Yeah. So let's dial it back a little bit and talk about still childhood, right? Because, like, our environments are what sculpt us, right? So, like, later on in life, my dad was around, but, like,
cool.
At some point, him and my stepmom took on her ma's debt, and her ma's debt was like $100,000 at the time. They didn't have $100,000 to pay off this debt, so they put themselves in jeopardy and eventual bankruptcy trying to save these things that were, tied to memory. So the dilapidated house that my mom, like, grew up in or something like that, and or my stepmom. So, what I saw in money was there was no value, really. Like, I didn't respect it because we didn't have it. I didn't know the accesses you can have. I didn't know what money did. I knew that money got things, but I also knew you could get things without money. Like my mom, who we talked about a little bit before the podcast, she got convicted on check fraud and stuff like that. So I think seeing that created a negative impression of the value of things, right? Because, like, I don't actually need money. I can make it. Call me the national, the Federal Reserve. I can make whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that creates a negative thing because everything costs, right? So then in the military, it's like, oh, well, I mean, I could just make things. Like, I could spend my entire check and then go party in Tokyo because I don't need money to live because I have, a barracks room, or I have a rack, or I have someplace to sleep. And I don't need food because I could eat at the mess decks or the chow hall. Like, all that's provided. So I think, from those negative experiences, I learned negative habits with money. And then as I started growing up and started working my way through different marriages, I started, elevating my picks for women, and their socioeconomic classes were higher. And, one of my ex-wives, her dad, they used to rent catamarans and vacation in the BVI, the British Virgin Islands. And I was like, what? Like, who does that? We went to Wisconsin Dells. You know what I mean? Like we were staying at Motel 6 and ate cold cuts,
Yeah.
I don't know if that really answers the question. But
No, it actually, I appreciate you expanding that, because it shows that, like, you've had a journey in it, and it brings the importance of, recognizing the things that life has given you, and whether it's a positive or negative, but it does not define you, right? It clearly hasn't, because you've been very successful in your time in service. So with that, you went into service with negative view on money because you could just create it. What experiences have you had in the service associated to money that maybe has helped you out post-service?
Yeah, so I think limits. Like, so there's only so much. There's only so much funds. There's only so much. There's only so many chances. Only so many billets. Only so many opportunities for things, because things cost. So if there's a school I want to go to, I have to value myself at an appropriate value that allows justification to have that school paid for me, right? So, like,
Right.
I had to learn to value myself. I had to learn that outputs equaled a monetary value in some degree. Everything costs. Like, if it's not monetary, it's emotional. It's not emotional, it's mental. You know what I mean? And you can argue the connection between those, but really, everything has a cost. And I don't think I realized that early on. I thought, I'm the baddest motherfucker. I'm smart. I can figure things out. I don't need no help. But you need to learn the economy of life,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. The economy of life. Yeah. And I think that, valuing yourself, valuing the time and what outputs, what inputs and outputs you're going to put out in your life is going to define your success. And, there's, and we could almost look at it if we dive into like capacitance, right? Like, some of us have more outputs and some of us has less resistance. Sorry, I meant resistance. So we can do less and put out more, right? Well, there's more other people that are doing a lot more and putting out less. So it's very interesting how we are able to take that effect in life and the results that it can have in our lives, right?
Sure. And there's something that to be said about the people we interact with and the people we spend time with, because there's also a cost to that. So I remember I had this boss back in the day. He was a straight gangster. He was an old school black guy from the projects in Chicago. Coolest dude. He was about, I don't know, 5'5", 5'6". And like, this dude was a straight OG. Like, he ran, the senior enlisted mess. He was the man, dude. I remember watching him curse out the skipper one time, just because there was a disagreement, and he was right. Like, according to regulations and stuff, he was right, and he did not care. He was protecting his people. But I was in, where were we at? I was in Singapore, man, and I was with some shady dudes. There was a place called 4 Floors of Blank, if you know, and I'm walking around, and he's there with, I think, his wife. I don't know. I didn't ask. I was just like, hey, man, how's it going? And he stops me, and he goes, dude, stay away from those dudes you're with. And I'm like, what? He's like, they're no good for you. They're only going to bring you down. They're crabs. Stay away from them. And that gave me a hug and said, be safe. And I was like, this is weird. Like, but he gave me a hug because, like, this guy was like a dad. You know what I mean? And it was super weird, though, because, like, so I was like, I don't know why he said it. I turned to the dude. I'm like, I don't know why he said it, but I got to go. And he's like, well, fuck that. Don't be a bitch. And I'm like, nah, man, there's a reason he's saying it. I don't know why he's saying it. The end of that visit, this dude gets wrapped up for doing shady shit. They all pop on a drug test. And like,
No shit.
you know, you got to be careful with who you spend your time with because there's residual effects. Like, even if you don't see it, people see it. And like, you know, those people may then judge you based on the crowd you hang out with. So you have to be cognizant of all that. I'm kind of rambling, but I want to sink into people that are listening. Like there's someone out there right now that is young in their career and they're hanging out with shitheads because they think that's all they can hang out with. Well, guess what, buddy?
Right.
Guess what, lady? You're better than those people. You don't have to say, you don't have to rub it in their faces. But if they remind you of people from home, doesn't matter. You're not at home no more. You're destined for better things. You know, break yourself from that. Be respectful. Be nice. Don't forget about them. But like, you don't have to be around them just cause. Like you gotta identify your value and push on. Like, otherwise, you're just gonna get pulled back down those crabs, man.
Right, dude. That's huge because I mean, we all see it, right? And maybe at some points, we have been the negative person, right? But like recognizing the people around us, how they're bringing us down, and we need to choose. And you know, the wealthy and successful always talk about that, right? Whether it's an athlete, whether it's a multimillionaire, it's like I had to leave this, I had to leave something or somebody, and it's so important. And most people, or a lot of people, better said, are not willing to let go, and they just mosey about life because it has an association to some past. And they never achieve anything. They totally miss out on their value.
Would you dare to say that they're comfortable? Would you dare to say that they'd rather be comfortable than to try something new that has an uncertain outcome?
100%. And I think that too, to your point, and I always argue this, like people that say they want to be financially comfortable, I was like, you are comfortable. You have a roof over your head and your food. You don't want to be comfortable. You want to be better. And most of us don't. Most of us want to improve. Most of us want a better life. Most of us want to have a better physique, a better relationship. And that takes work and effort. It's not a comfort-based decision. But people that are comfortable, they never achieve anything. They're like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not going to push myself or challenge.
Yeah. Or maybe they achieve what they think they're able to achieve, and they don't reach the heights that they can achieve. So not to say that they don't achieve things. I mean, they reach a point in their life where they may, you know, be like, oh, this is it. But
so you're saying like a high school football player?
Oh, dude, where they peak in high school. Yeah, like, you know, that's not life. You know, those people are going to grow up. That chick that you made fun of is probably going to be the hottest woman you ever saw in your life. You know, that dude that was an AV club, you know, is probably going to be racking in $300K. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and you know, let's talk about that though. Like, you know, we're all on a journey, and this is going to sound like super woo woo, but we're all on a journey, and we affect those that we pass by, right? Our energy affects those. Our movement in the water ripples and affects their pace, their direction. So we got to be kind to people, man. I'm not saying like you got to kiss up. I'm not saying you got to be overly kind, but you don't know the things people are going through. So observe, assess, execute. You know what I mean? Like, don't be an asshole unless you have to be an asshole. You know, don't be violent unless you got to be violent. So I think that, you know, some folks just don't want to do that. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Be that way, man. Be that way, because world needs ditch diggers. And that's not an insult. I'm not shitting on them, but like, if you're happy with that, that's fine. I'm not happy with that.
Yeah. No. We're going to pursue more. And for that matter, and I'm sure you're in the same boat as I am, if right now a quote unquote ditch digger called us and was like, help me get out of this, I want to be where you are, we would be like,
in a heartbeat. Because that's my DNA, man. Like, you know, if I got something I can help you with, cool. You know, cool because, you know why? Like, so I didn't mention this. I was really, really lucky in my career. I went to some really phenomenal places, really worked with some super cool dudes, and just lived a very neat life. And that wasn't everyone's experience, right? And I'm aware of that. But in that culture, in that world, you help everyone. You don't, I mean, everyone's doing the dirt. Everyone's cleaning stuff.
Right.
Like, I was at a place, there was a bunch of fucking too cool for school, tier 1 assaulters, and they were cleaning the same toilets I was. Exact same toilets, because it was the same place we were all shitting, man. And, you know, like, you go through some of these schools, and you're with these people that are supposed to be like the nation's fucking best, and it's like, they're just people, man. They're just people that chose a different journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what my point was with that, but if it resonated, it resonated.
No, it still resonates with me. Like that we're willing to help people get there, right? And realize that we're all humans. And when you look at the people that are in an SMU or tier 1, whatever, they're just dudes that were willing to do that. And maybe somebody did that for them. Somebody looked at them and I was like, I got you, bro. You know, I'll help you get out of this rut.
Yeah.
And they're much better for it, you know? So cool. Onto financial things, which I always like asking this question because you've traveled a lot, you've done a lot. Do you feel that in your time in the military, you maximized your special pays, your per diem, or any money that you got? Do you max any bonuses? Did you maximize it, or did you pretty much blast it?
I maximized it for pleasure. Let's go.
Pleasure?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because what you don't know, you don't know, man. So, what, you're going to give me an extra $300 to do what? You know, so I get a clothing allowance. You think I'm going to buy clothes with that? Maybe. I'll go to the Goodwill, buy a bunch of clothes. Now I got an extra $250. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or I get per diem. I'm buying bologna. I'm going to the dollar store. The Dollar Tree's got a refrigerator section. I'm loading up on hot dogs and rice. I mean, I did frugal things like that so I could party. But no, absolutely not. And like, you know, I didn't realize. So I got a really good buddy. You don't know he's a mutual friend, but I know he's a mutual friend. And he may share that with you at some point. But this dude is an absolute gangster. Absolute gangster. Financial wizard. And he was, I don't know, he just fell into my life and vice versa. And I didn't know that the job I'm doing now was a job that was available. Had no idea. And he was like, yeah, bro, this dude came out of nowhere and groomed me for my job about a year before I started doing my job. So back to the point of capitalizing on extra pays and maximizing financial advantages. Absolutely not. What I did luck out on, though, was a lot of negative experiences that taught me never to do that shit again. And then people, like, the most important thing is the human network. And those people taught me the lessons from that base. So, you know, like, hey, dude, this happened. All right, man, don't do that. Do this. Like, I have a buddy who's, he did really well in the crypto industry. Like really, really well, like stupid well. And he teaches me stuff nonstop about like yielding and then making money off yielding. And so staking money and then taking, the dividends off that and then reinvesting that. So like fronting these monies and stuff like that. But so no, I didn't maximize. Anyone that's listening, take advantage of programs out there. You're not going to know what the programs are. So ask around. Ask the guy who's driving. So here's the thing. Your senior officers, you're going to notice this. And there's always that guy that's driving a piece of shit car. And he's like, lieutenant colonel. And you're like, he could afford something better than that. But he's got $1 million in the bank. You know what I mean? But he's got a $12,000 car he paid off 10 years ago, and he's just waiting for retirement. So ask around.
Right.
Ask around is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So would you look back at young Bob and be like, hey, Bob, I know you're going to go get hecked up today. Would you tell him to save $10 for that night? Would you tell him to save anything, or you would tell him to just do exactly? I mean, this is not a matter of regret, right? It's a matter of like lessons learned. Would you pass on something like that to younger Bob?
So I would, those memories were pretty good, dude.
Yeah.
They were pretty good.
I bet.
But I don't know what memories I missed out on by not investing in my future. So,
Right.
yeah, I would have said put $20 away. Like, you don't need this massage. this massage, like, you're fine. You got a hand. You know what I mean? Like, so I would teach myself how to compromise early on rather than always trying to maximize pleasure and maximize indulgence, right? Like, I don't think I ever struggled enough to understand. I mean, I struggled, but I'm stupid. So, like, I didn't understand it. So future Bob would tell young Bob that, there's a reality outside of what he's living. And in order to get that, he needs to pass on, eating out, or pass on something that's frivolous. Like, I didn't need fucking night vision, but I thought it was super cool. So I bought it. Like, why? I didn't need night vision in 2000. Like, could have stole it from the armory like everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And it's funny you say that because I always make memes about, oh, don't go buy another gun. And I can tell people, they're like, don't tell me to now go buy another gun. And I was like, bro, it's not about the gun. It's about the point, right? It's like you could delay that gratification for a little bit and then buy hundreds of guns later, right? So, and that's a great point. Now, you've had great experiences, and you were talking about what things you're doing now. Post-military, I'm assuming that you've got, obviously you probably have a retirement, you probably have a disability, and you seem to have a great career. How important and at the forefront of your thought is it to plan for your real retirement, plan for your future, and if you have kids, plan for them? How important is all that?
I think it's as important as it is for yourself, right? So, like, I don't have enough. I don't have enough saved up. I didn't, turn in my VA paperwork on time. I just assumed that the money was coming. And, that's the biggest gamble. It came, but, like, so what? If you're making $250, $300 a year, you're not making that every month. So you can't be spending that. Like, if you put that on your credit, if you, when you're asked, when you try to establish credit to get a loan or you purchase something and, you put your financials on there, cool. But, like, I mean, making 200 to 300 doesn't help you month to month. Like, I mean, it does, right? It does help, but all it helps you do is get more and more in debt. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
I think if you realize, I think we all need to sit down, and I'm doing this right now, unfortunately, very late in life, and realize what our baseline is. What do I need to survive? What do I need to live? What do I need to be happy? What is happiness, right? So, is happiness living in a condo with no responsibilities? Is happiness paying rent? It shouldn't be paying rent. You should own the place you live in so you're not throwing money in the garbage, because that income in isn't always going to be there. At some point, it's going to reduce, you know what I mean? Or at some point, there's going to be a delta. I'm sure you can make more, but, like, you're not always going to get your military paycheck. When you retire, you get a fraction of that. But, like, if you're not, looking for, I don't know, man, that's a really good question that I think most of us don't think about, man. Like, so my second ex-wife, when we divorced, we lived with each other for years. Like, it sounds nuts, but I'm nuts. She's nuts. And the reason was we could split costs. She's a cool chick. It just didn't work out, but I could split costs with her. We could split the mortgage. We don't have to sell the house because the house is dope. We just have to establish rules within ourselves that we're okay with. So don't bring chicks to the house when we're here, that kind of stuff. But like, there needs to be, thought into ways to save money. So this motherfucker, I'm going out on dates. I'm just spending because I got this extra money. She gets, people argue about financial, planners and stuff like that, but she got one. And by the time she moved out, she had banked $20K. Yeah, $20K, man. And like, I was just like, how the fuck? And she's like, well, you paid for everything. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, give me some of that money. Like, you know what I mean? But like, she was smart. I wasn't. And, so when she got out, she moved to a place where cost of living was a lot cheaper. She got a 3,000 square foot place for half of the place I paid for a year at 28,000 square feet or 2,800 square feet. And I mean, her place was $200K less, you know what I mean? And like, she just constantly lives the lifestyle of frugalness. Like, she uses her retirement money for trips. Never spends any of her income on trips. Uses retirement money for trips, and they're nonstop traveling. She'll price everything, so when they go on cruises, she brings the entire kids, but she doesn't eat out. Like, they don't eat out. Her partner, he makes a little bit. Like I think he brings in like 80 or something like that, and then she brings in however much she brings in. But they're not making insane paychecks. She just finds things that are of importance to her, prioritize those things, and then is able to live a lifestyle because she took sacrifices. And I never took that. And most of us don't, because we think we could do everything. Just fire hose me in the face. I'll deal with all the pain later. You know what I mean? Like, this is easy. And she just dialed back her indulgences. And it's like, there's a million people doing this. And if you want to do that, you ask them. So like, she'll give me advice all the time. And I'll be like, fuck you, you're a loser. I shouldn't be swearing as much, but I'll say, forget you, you're a loser. And she'll be like, I'm a loser with money. You know what I mean? And I think there's value in that. I think there's a lot of value because now the kids see that, right? The kids, and that's, again, people outside seeing a way to live. And these young kids are now growing up to be, teenage women, young women, and they're seeing that you can buy your own house. You have to buy your own house. You don't need a man to buy a house. Yeah. Like, you can do that on your own with your own credit line. Like, you can pay off bills as they come in. You don't have to use credit for the most part, right? Like, you don't need to use your card all the time. Like, so I'm always a bystander on good choices. Like, I'm always the outside person looking in. But I'm a benefactor in some degree. So I never make the right choices. I'm lucky that people around me make the right choices, and I benefit like that.
Yeah.
But whoever's listening shouldn't, because you can be the one that makes the right choices.
Yeah. And that's why I made this page, right? Like, because I wanted to, at the page of the podcast, to help people get to that, right? Provide the resources for the right choices. And I haven't said this before, but you brought up something about financial advisors, right? And what I'll tell anybody, a financial advisor is incredible. It's a useful tool, but you could do a lot on your own. So if the return of investment is there, if you're paying 1%, it's worth it. But it clearly was worth it to her, right? Walking out of there with 20 grand after living with you. But I also tell people how, like, again, once you get education, then you don't need a man. You can do it on your own. You don't need a financial advisor. You can do it on your own. And clearly you're surrounded by people that are doing the right things, and I'm sure it's having an impact in your life, right?
No way, man. Yeah, of course it is.
No,
of course it is. And there's a point there, right? There's a point to be made. So, so independence, right? You want to be independent, because what happens when those people leave? What happens when those people die? What happens when those people aren't available to you because you deselected yourself from their lives?
Right.
So now we're, as bad as this is going to sound, some people are going to cringe, but hear me out. we use each other. Humans use each other, and it's not negative. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to use you, but I'll give you my resources, but we're going to use each other, whether that be friendship,
Yeah.
whether that be materialistic, whether that be positive or good, so
Right.
we have to recognize that, though, and be honest with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So onto your page, what is the change that you want to make in the world with information dominance? What's the end goal?
Dude,
Besides have information dominance.
yeah. So what is information, man? Information's power. You know what I mean? Information's control. Information is 10 seconds, 3 seconds. If I got intel on something, I got a couple more breaths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I was trolling some people a while back during the pandemic, and they started making some really good points about some stuff. And so I threw a page together, and background wise, I've done psyops. Every int you could think of, I've done. And I've always noticed the power of propaganda and the power of a narrative and the power of control. Because, you use it when you try to get pussy. You use it when you try to get a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just how those things translate and how they're utilized in different arenas. So what is the page? The page is a way for me to network. The page is a way for me to monitor. The page is a way for me to test theories and test technologies and test techniques. So, all right, I got a story. You want to hear a story? I think
give it to me.
I'm very trained at what I do. I'm very, very good. And I draw in some very interesting people. So to date, I've had three folks that have had indictments issued by the DOJ. So to date, 3 foreign actors that have engaged, interact, wanted to recruit and or attempt to troll. These pages give you access. These avenues are 24/7 supermarkets, right? Anyone could come in. Anyone's walking down your aisles. Vice versa, I could walk down their aisles, right? So you don't know who's who, and you got to find that out. So with the background I have, and many have, you start noticing things. So if I put out a article, and we'll talk about articles and stuff like that I put out, I'm steering it towards a specific demographic. So for a while, I put out things and hashtag them or target them towards different genres to try to generate like troll traffic or interactions from actual humans. And what do I mean by that, right? So I put out an article a while back. I run a daily newsletter, and there was an article about Costa Rica. Costa Rica was getting hit by ransomware. So whoever put this article out was talking about the comparison between ransomware actors and terrorists. So I want to hear how people feel about that, because I know the kind of stuff I put out has foreign actors monitoring my stuff from comments and stuff. And it's not, some folks may say, oh, it's paranoia. It's not. Espionage is real. What we do, they do.
Yeah.
And if someone's working in a professional capacity in that realm, there's an equivalent of you out there. There always will be, and they'll probably be better than you to some degree. So be aware.
Right.
But so article about ransomware actors being terrorists. I get hit up by a guy who currently has an indictment out on him. He's in several books. He was on, was it Brian Krebs' blog. He's been tracked for a while. He was ran by the FSB for a while. He's missing fingers due to issues he had in with cybercrime organizations. And he hits me up and he's like, you know, he speaks to me in Cyrillic. So in Russian, he types out Cyrillic. I Google Translate it, and it equates to, it's all about the money, bro. So I like interaction. Fucking talk to me, baby. Let's go. So I hit him up in a voice chat, and I'm like, my man's, is about the monies, baby? What do you mean it's about the monies? And he hits me up, and now I got voice verification of this person, right? So I got a VID of this fella. And we start talking, and I'm like, yo, show me your crypto wallets in my poor accent. And he's like, I'm not going to show you my crypto wallets. And I'm like, bullshit. You got no money. You got no bitches, because that's a trigger for a lot of these dudes. Like, you don't have. So they're braggadocious, man. So he's like, I'm not going to show you my crypto wallets, but I'll show you links of where I am. And, you know, this is who I am. And I'm the best at this. And I'm the best at that. And I'm like, bullshit, baby. You ain't nothing. And now I got this guy on the ropes trying to prove to me. So he starts sending me stuff. So I started asking about his organizational structure. I started asking about, you know, how they dev stuff, how many people are in their org, how do they contact, you know, whoever manages them, who manages them? Is it a criminal organization? Is it a government organization? And this dude is just telling me stuff because we're talking, you know, he thinks he's got me, but I got him. And I know this because later on, things that I had to do for that, he lied about some things, but he didn't lie about most. And, you know,
Right.
let's key on something here. He's just a human being, man. Like, he may be a bad dude doing some bad things, but he's another man being told by another man that he ain't shit. So he's like, fuck you, baby. I drive Lambos and I smash models. Yeah, I don't care, dude. Like, so what? Show me pictures. Let me see pics, baby. And it escalated, and you know, he showed me a bunch of stuff. But you know, that is what the page does. The page brings people together. The page reaches out and allows folks that resonate and or want to question and or, you know, think they're better than, to engage with me. And I like to talk, man. So let's talk, you know? Yeah, for sure. So like, I talked about the newsletter. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Tell me about the newsletter. Yeah. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. So, I started up a cyber threat intel daily newsletter. I scrape, so I developed some technologies to scrape, curate, and generate a newsletter that is based on national security and cybersecurity themes. So I have a repository of 20,000 different news outlets, and from there I curate articles of interest that I think are of interest to folks, big picture, and put it in a readable format, assessment, summary, source. And then from there, generate network and conversation. So I used to use a popular company's newsletter, Mandiant, and they stopped doing it one day. Like it was Christmas or something, and I needed it for my brief, and I didn't have it. So I'm like, fuck these dudes, I'm going to make my own. And that's usually how stuff works for me. Like when I elevate, it's fuck you, man, I'll make my own. You know what I mean? Like that's a constant for me. So I took 6 months, maybe 5 months worth of data, and then did some analytics on it, figured out what their main sources were, and started scraping their sources. And when I say scrape, it is an automated process of creating agents or bots that go out and interface with with pages, so websites, and you enter in the structure of how that data is on that site, parse it out, and then I have the data. But it's done so in a manner that's quicker than if I were just click on all the links and look for it. So I started creating my own, and then folks at work started using it, and then folks outside work started using it. And then I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to need a job in a couple months. It was more than that. I was going to need a job in like a year and a half. So I scraped all the domains of the 30 top cyber threat companies in the world, scraped all their domain email addresses and just spammed them all with my newsletter. And then a lot of them stuck. Not a lot. So out of 4,500, 1,200 stayed. So the percentage there isn't great, but you generated an audience now. So out of those 12, let's say 800 used it. And then I created an organic one from that. So an organic distribution list. And that was another, I think that's at like 900 now. So we're at over 1,700. And then I made an additional one. We're at over 1,700 subscribers for a newsletter that I made on a whim. And the value, okay, so here's the point, right? So email, like most of us don't pay for email, but that's fine. Like we don't pay for it because we're the product. You know what I mean? So our keywords, our preferences, our patterns, they're all garnered, they're all taken, they're all analyzed, and they're all parsed and sold to marketing firms, right? To create personas on us. So there's a selector, there's a term, there is a thing that we associate to online, and from there, that is packaged and sold, man. Fact, right? So, for me, the newsletter, I get network from it. So, I mean, dude, like from nothing, I now have contacts with hundreds of CEOs and CTOs in the industry that I wanted to be in. So the other day, this guy that runs a cyber threat intel firm out of London put out an article on cyber cognitive warfare within the PLA. This guy's got PhDs. He's just a stud, absolute stud muffin. And he's talking to me. Like we engage on these topics. I rewrote his report with additions and, put it out on my platform. And like, I never would have been able to contact this dude. I never would have had him within my resources. I never would have been able to learn from him. He wouldn't be financially backing me via subscriptions if I didn't create something. You know what I mean? Right. So there was a need. The need was a new way for me to make my job easier. I didn't have that need. I figured out how that need was made, created my own, and then created my own resources from that need. Like you can translate that to everything, dude. Like you could carry that out. You could carry that over to every facet of your life, you know?
Right. Wow. Dude, that I literally, I don't like often feel like I just learned a shit ton. And I kind of like almost zoned out because my brain went into like questions.
Shoot, dude, shoot. Let's go, baby.
Like, bro, like, let's go. Like, but dude, like, yeah, this is so good. We're going to have to do another episode. This is great. I see that you're making a huge change, and I hope that this because you said something, and I like how you accentuated your network, hopefully influence your net worth.
Yeah.
Right? And I wish that for you. And one thing that I captured that I want people to listen, that you've said this multiple times, roughly it seems to be that you're making over 200 grand. And I want the audience to hear this. That's not enough.
No, not.
And you haven't saved enough.
No.
So what we're telling people is that the earlier that you save, the earlier that you invest, the easier this 300 grand might have been enough. But at this point of your life, it's not.
man.
So now you're having to expand your net worth in order to generate that money to give you that independence, because now you've already gone past the threshold of influence. You are highly
So I thought,
now you need to get
and I'm sorry to jump in, I thought growing up, $90,000 was a lot of money. And that may have been. That ain't shit after taxes. I was talking to a dude the other day, and I was like, what is the amount that you think you're making really good money? He told me 120. After taxes, bro, that ain't shit. That ain't shit. You know what I mean? You say that I hint towards making 200. Maybe I make 40. I'm always going to say I'm poor. I'm always going to say that I got $20 in my bank account, because if I don't, I'll chill, man. So it doesn't matter how much I make. It's not enough, dude. And it's not enough because that money will give me opportunity. So I heard you say something the other day on one of your podcasts. You're just talking. And you're like, I want to give EOD grads MRIs to establish a baseline. What you want to do is change their motherfucking life. They don't know they need a baseline. You are saying that every dude or gal that you can gift this baseline, you're changing their life based on knowledge you know now from the struggles you've had, and you're reaching out and changing their lives. People do that to us every day. They do that to us every day. And we're doing that right now to folks that are listening. But like, you know, you're never going to have enough to help, and you're never going to be able to help enough. You know what I mean? I'm not a businessman, and I'm a businessman, or I am the businessman. You know what I mean? Like you.
Right. And to your point, we only change the world. Well, obviously we could change our world, but to have that massive impact, we need money. I wish we didn't, but we do. So now might as well go make money to create that.
So look at that. Look at economic warfare, man. What's the PLA? What's China? What's the CCP doing right now? They're trying to, what is it? Not de-incentivize, but de-dollarize the petrodollar, right? So the U.S. dollar is of such significance that in order to bring the U.S. down, you need to disallow that standard, right? So the U.S. dollar is the standard in the international economic world. You know what I mean? And the only way to bring down this powerhouse known as the U.S. is to devalue the thing that makes them of value. So, you know, the yuan's not there yet, man. The yuan's not gonna knock us down. But like, my point with that is, you know, there was so much planning that went into that. There was so much positioning and strategy that goes into that. Like, you know, U.S. espionage, we think 4 years out. Other countries are thinking 100, thinking 50. That's the long game. So with your career, don't think about next week. Don't think about next check. Think about retirement. Think about 20 years from now. You know what I mean? Think about, you know, that car you can have when you're sitting on your goddamn 5-acre property, you know, because you made the right choices. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting. Economic warfare is a beautiful topic that is under-discussed, understood. That sounds silly. There's a reason there's an influx of lawyers and MBA folks in the intel realm and in power positions. Right. Because law and money's rule, you know, dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're totally right. And money is a huge factor, and we could dive into. I mean, we could talk about that, right? The financial warfare, economic warfare. I mean, we have we have enough material to talk for another 3 hours, but unfortunately, to wrap it up, Any final closing words for your audience, my audience?
Yeah, man, you guys matter. You guys matter. You don't think you matter. Maybe someone right now thinks their life's not worth it. Maybe someone right now is lost. Maybe someone right now doesn't know they're lost. Maybe someone sees a friend that's lost. Help each other, man. Yeah. We're all we got, dude, you know?
We got. Yeah. I totally agree. And dude, this is a huge pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, Bob. And that's it, dude. I'll see you guys soon. And thank you for tuning into our podcast.
This podcast is not financial advice, and it only represents the opinions of those participating. Our goal is to get you to your version of financial independence. Please follow and like on every platform.